In episode number 367 of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, we cover the latest Batman film casting reports.
Warner Brothers Montreal also had some great hints at their next game, and of course they unveiled it on Batman Day.
And our comic book highlight this week is Harleen number 1.
All of this and so much more on today's show.
Hello and welcome to your 2019 nominated podcast award show, The Reasons I'm Broke, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I am Emperor Kelli.
And I am Boarder Daniel.
What kind of boarder are you? Like room and board? You're just boarding with some people? Do you raise dogs?
Well, we're going with Pokemon, so it's a snowboarder.
Lame. Have you ever even snowboarded?
Never once, but actually, you know what I did? In Sonic the Hedgehog 3, you get to snowboard as Sonic. It's one of the best levels. The music was composed by Michael Jackson himself.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
Well, I count it.
Oh, okay.
The way we format the show is first we go through some news covering all of the things that make Kelli and I broke. We go into the Patreon shout-outs to people who make the show possible. And this week we're going to do our previews catalog highlights, because it is that week in the month where the catalog has come in. Our comic book review is Harleen number 1, as you mentioned. Then we finish it off with the Bro Cap block, in which we will cover Batman Day, a question from one of the listeners, and of course, where Kelli and I have been this week.
But let's jump right into our news, starting off with casting for the new Batman film.
So according to Variety, actor Jonah Hill from one of my favorite movies, Moneyball, is in talks to play an unspecified villain in Matt Reeves' Batman film.
They have not confirmed any villains yet, but who would you think that he would play?
My mind did go first to the Penguin.
Really?
But then it went to Harvey Bullock. I'm like, it doesn't have to be a villain, right?
Yeah, but he's like not that round anymore, right?
He gains it and he loses it depending on the role.
My mind went directly to the Riddler.
With other actors on Twitter going out and campaigning for themselves to be the Riddler, you know the main character in Fantastic Beasts, the awkward guy with the hair?
Yeah.
He was campaigning hard to be the Riddler on Twitter.
He's kind of awkward enough. Okay.
Kind of gives us hints that these actors know that they are looking for these roles for these villains, so they're pretty much confirming that the Riddler is going to be in the movie. And I know the other big thing was when Joshua Gad, was that his name from Frozen and from Beauty and the Beast, the live action one?
Yeah, okay.
Plays LeFou. He had taken a picture with a Penguin trade paperback back before Matt Reeves took over. So right when it was still the Ben Affleck-led current timeline Batman film. But since things changed due to Warner Brothers unfortunately pushing the panic button, that all went out the window, and we now know that Matt Reeves completely redid the script. So that's when we're like, all right, maybe we're not going to get that Penguin, but at least it sounds like they do think that it's going to be either Riddler or the Penguin, because according to the Variety reporter that wrote up this story, they tweeted out that Hill's negotiations have taken longer due to agreements over the actor's salary and whether he would be playing the Penguin or the Riddler.
So they gave him an option, like, which character do you want to play?
I don't know how those things work. I don't know if he wanted to play a certain one and they had him in mind for someone else. I think the main thing, though, is going to be salary. If you're one of these actors, I don't know how well toys do now, but as far as merch, like t-shirts or even online sales on, I don't know, wallpapers. I don't know what they make money off of, but you probably want to get a cut of that if you plan on being one of these villains and your face is going to be all over these bits of merch.
In addition to Jonah Hill, actor Jeffrey Wright from Casino Royale is also now in negotiations to play Commissioner Gordon.
He played Felix in Casino Royale, one of my favorite Bond films. He's the guy that tells him, I think he's from the CIA, and he says, "I'm bleeding chips. I'm saying I'll buy you back in." It was right when Bond was about to kill the main villain.
I just remember the guy with the
Lashif.
scar on his eye.
Right, he was going to kill him because he had knocked out Bond in that first round and he was out. But then it was the last round of buy-ins and he was out of money and they wouldn't give him money. So he said, no, we'll let you buy in, but we take in Lashif. And that's when he's like, all right, so he's pretty much its part. He showed up in the sequel as well, but didn't have as big of a role. But the information that we took out of this, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's true, but I think it is that this in no way plays any part as a prequel to Ben Affleck's Batman. Not only because the commissioner just went from white to black, so it's completely different. And people did point out that in the Tim Burton films, Two-Face went from black to white as they did the eventual sequel with Batman Forever, and it was still in that same continuity. But I do think that with them focusing on these movies being standalone instead of building up to a universe, I don't think they have any plans on connecting this at all to Ben Affleck's universe. We're going to get a whole different Alfred. We're obviously getting a different Commissioner Gordon, a different Batman, I'm thinking, and someone that is not going to be at all tied into what Ben Affleck and Zack Snyder set up, unfortunately. I don't think we're going to see that story of the Joker killing Robin as they kind of hinted at in Snyder's vision.
Definitely agree with you on that front. And that doesn't mean that we won't ever get the story of Joker killing Robin, right? Probably not in this movie, but if it does well, if it's received well, then there's no telling where they go after this point.
So the DC fan base has been pretty divided about where this new direction of DC films that started really with Justice League, but honestly with Aquaman and Shazam and now Batman and probably Wonder Woman 84, in which they are very different from Zack Snyder's vision. A lot of fans do not want to support Batman or the new Wonder Woman or even in a future Shazam, and some are even going as far as not supporting Joker and protest of them not releasing the Snyder Cut. They're saying that if you support these new movies, that will hurt the chances of them releasing the Snyder Cut because it does actually expand on his vision in which they're not going in anymore, especially with the New Gods film.
I don't know that I agree with that. The thing is, at the end of the day, I get it, you really want this movie, right? But is this movie more important than any other good movie that they could create for the rest of time?
That's kind of where I stand a bit, where I understand that we want Snyder's vision, but that means that you are more for that particular run of movies than you are about the medium itself. So you're less concerned about whether or not they could pull off a good film. And if you, obviously with the Joker, we're seeing very strong hints at this being an art house film, something that's winning awards. This is probably one of the best DC movies in years, including the Nolanverse, including Snyder's universe. It's yet to be seen. We'll find out next week. But with all of those things pointing in that direction, you should be supporting the good movies, the ones that are actually good films or the ones that are adhering to a director's vision if you truly care about artistic integrity and artistic vision. So that's kind of where I sit as well. And I think the other difference too is we do read the DC comics. We've watched the television shows, the cartoons I grew up on Batman the Animated Series, and we have the DC Universe app. So we're all in on DC. I think it's greater than, yes, I love Snyder's vision. I like what he was doing. However, we are still DC Comics fans, and that all of these things fall under that umbrella. From there, we can pick and choose which ones we aren't going to like or we are, but to sabotage everything until they release this, I think that's not the right step to take.
And I think at the end of the day, it only continues to hurt the cause by doing that, because the fewer sales that they have, the worse reception that they have, they then say, well, let's continue to go in a different direction. And so that's what they do. They'll continue to push farther away from what you want, and then you continue not going. And at the end of the day, now we're even further away from Zack Snyder's vision.
And more importantly, Disney wins in their quest to be a bigger monopoly. We know that Jonah Hill and Jeffrey Wright are both very strong actors to go along with Robert Pattinson. So far, the talent looks to be there. I'm very curious, as everyone else, to see that first, couple of stills, that first trailer, and really the direction that they go in.
As of right now, we're looking to see this movie June 25th, 2021.
We have here what seems to be a pattern with our show over the last couple of months, and it seems like we have our own Joker block of news because it keeps getting very interesting, not only in I'm excited to see the fucking movie, but all of the politics around it.
Right.
And all of the weird spinning that's happening from the bloggers, from the critics, all mandated probably by the mouse, let's be honest. And there's some really odd things happening. But first, buy your tickets right now because the Joker movie tickets are finally up and they are on sale. I got that notification tweet from the Joker account. There's when you retweeted the trailer, it asked if you wanted to get exclusive offers or exclusive hints and all this. And I said, yes, absolutely. Hell yeah. And then they tweeted at me right away as soon as tickets went up. Within that hour, I fucking bought the tickets. I was the first 2 seats in our auditorium to reserve them. And I was like, this one and this one. So I had my whole pick of the fucking theater. And we're going to the earlier showing. So it is going to be in like that bigger format. It's not IMAX, but it's in like that extra big screen, louder noise type of thing because it was the earliest showing. And honestly, I'm not going to complain. Yes, it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but the presentation is going to be crazy. And yeah, it's not IMAX quality in the theater itself, nor in the movie with the IMAX cameras, but it does still elevate any movie in spite of whether or not it was filmed in IMAX, because this particular theater doesn't have IMAX presentation.
You were obsessed with these tickets. You kept like reloading your phone and you're like, I just want them to go on sale. And you were like flipping tables.
I wasn't the only one. I had obviously a lot of DC Belugas online, but my brother too, he was like, I kept refreshing it. And they said, he was giving me like, I heard that it's going to be on Wednesday at 9:00 a.m. Like there was all of this stuff.
You two were like little women gossiping. Like, woo, this is what it is.
We're fans. We're a fan base.
Are we all going together? No, he got
I don't know which theater he got him at, but you and I are going.
Yes.
So we're going to be able to see it next week on Thursday. I'm excited. Can't wait. We're going to have a review for you probably in 2 weeks because we usually record Wednesday has been the day, Wednesday night. So that'll be the day before we watch Joker, but it does give all of you an extra week to watch the Joker film, to formulate your thoughts. Same with me. And then we'll go from there. But buy your tickets now. It looks so fucking good, but we'll see. It might be terrible, but...
Who are you kidding? You're going to see it like 3 times before we actually have a review.
Well, I thought that about Justice League too, and we were all fucking fooled with that shit.
Well...
They're just slight reshoots.
Justice League also didn't get an 8-minute standing ovation, so...
That's true. That shit would not have... It's looking really nice, but look at what else dropped at the same time as the tickets going on sale against Warner Brothers now is what we're getting these stories is spinning. It's a very targeted attack against the Joker film, which is now where it gets weirder still on how they're trying to really sabotage this movie.
A group comprised of family members and friends from those who died in 2012's mass shooting at the showing of The Dark Knight Rises in Aurora, Colorado, have put together an open letter to Warner Brothers concerning about the upcoming Joker movie.
So a portion of this letter reads, quote, "When we learned that Warner Brothers was releasing a movie called Joker that presents the character as a protagonist with a sympathetic origin story, it gave us pause. We want to be clear that we support your right to free speech and free expression. But as anyone who has ever seen a comic book movie can tell you, with great power comes great responsibility. That's why we're calling on you to use your massive platform and influence to join us in our fight to build safer communities with fewer guns." End quote.
The full letter was put together with Guns Down America, which is a gun control advocacy group. They have reiterated that they do not believe the movie will directly influence violent behavior, nor do they want the movie pulled from theaters.
So what they want is a portion of the sales or a large donation to be made in favor of probably this group, Guns Down America, to try to get less guns out there, whatever that political agenda may be. Obviously, the Colorado shootings and tying in the victims and friends and families of these people that were in the theater makes it a more personal plea, or at least that's what they're attempting with on this letter. And it was a big tragedy. It's terrible that this went through, and we're not going to name the killer that did this, but there is very little tying the Joker himself or this movie to that tragedy in Colorado that happened in 2012. I know there's that misconception, and you still see it in the comments. And if you read the reports from the police and the investigation, there's that misconception of he called himself the Joker and went in firing. So people were saying that he looked like the Joker. Turns out he had orange hair, that he had dyed in that way, which that's not the Joker. And the officer later cleared it up that no, he never said he was the Joker. The guy's just, he was a sick individual. There were months and I believe up to a year of huge warning signs with his schoolmates, with his teachers, with a counselor that he was talking to, with his on and off ex-girlfriend. A lot of warning signs with that. The two things that tied this shooter to Joker or Batman in any way is that he did go into this particular showing of this movie, which was The Dark Knight Rises, doesn't star the Joker, it in fact stars Bane. And in two, he happened to be a Batman fan, which, let's be honest, everyone is. Even the MCU sheep are. Yeah. Deep down, they know they're Batman fans. So those are the two things that were tying this individual to very loose, again, not even the Joker. So for them to use that because it's in the same universe and it's also going to be a theater, they're trying to say because this character is being painted in a sympathetic light that it's them supporting violence, or I'm not too sure. And a lot of people have been very quick to point out, okay, well, then how come this wasn't an issue with someone like Thanos who wiped out half the universe, the Punisher who is on television murdering a shit ton of people and they're painted in a sympathetic light, both those characters. And it sounds like they're, from the script I read of the Joker, each one of those characters alone kills way more people than the Joker does in this movie. And the other thing, too, is it's like, all right, John Wick even. And he's definitely, it's like, yeah, he's killing cartel and members and bad guys, but it's also glorifying violence and gun violence. It's how come those aren't problems? And people have quickly pointed out because those are not Warner Brothers and those are not DC Comics.
The thing that bothers me even more beyond that, and I'm not saying that this isn't a good cause, right? I do definitely think that there is a problem in this country that needs to be solved for these kind of incidents, right? Because they're happening way more often than they need to. But why you're waiting till now when it's getting all this positive hype to put it out? Like, they've been filming this movie forever. You've known what this movie was about forever. And now you're saying, oh, well, I guess you should do this.
It's once again what I've been fucking saying. It's a targeted attack against the Joker movie. As you mentioned, if this was really something they really cared about, as soon as they announced the production of the Joker film, they should have been out there advocating for the control or the donations or teaming up with Guns Down America to get this movie they're not trying to get the movie taken down. It's about getting money for this particular cause. So now they choose to, when the tickets go on sale, when this stuff is happening, as it's 2 weeks away. That's why it's very suspicious as to the legitimacy of this full vision of, no, this is why we want you. I don't think so. I don't think that's the case. And a lot of us are very suspicious about that. And now there's even the story of supposedly FBI groups getting briefed on this movie might incite violence. So just a heads up, this is the training you're going to go through. This is how you're going to stop a shooter that might be there. Here's a reiteration of all of that. And I saw that hilarious tweet of, even the fucking FBI is in Disney's fucking pocket. It's like, Jesus Christ. So as a lot of us have been pointing out, the review bombing, while it has affected the movie, it's still, even in Rotten Tomatoes, it's still a fresh rating. It's higher than what Disney wanted. The bloggers and reviewers, in spite of them giving this movie the same ratings and even better than other movies that were rated positive in their own feed, and this one gets the negative, the rotten review, still not enough to affect this. It's been getting awards. It's been getting very positive buzz all throughout the other countries. The premieres, it just premiered in Paris, very positive on the critics, on the audiences. So now it's like, all right, well, what else can we, all of those things have been failing. Let's try this. And it's absolutely ridiculous, because if they truly did care about the controversy of this, they would be going for more than just a Joker movie. They'd be going for other hyper-violent films, and they're not doing that. It's
very unfortunate when these kind of things happen, because like I said, I don't I don't disagree with their cause. I don't think it's a bad thing. But when you do it in this way, then you lose your legitimacy. And now I'm skeptical of them forever, whereas they may have gotten me on board too, right? Or I may have said, yes, I agree with you. Like, mass shootings are way out of control. What can I do to help? And now I'm just like, you're just trying to get the Joker movie painted in a bad light.
People have been tweeting at Disney on Twitter, like, leave the Joker movie alone. Jesus fucking Christ. And once again, I've inadvertently lined up with the right, because the right, the free, not gun control, what do you call it on the opposite side? Gun advocacy? Yeah. Which I guess both are gun advocacy. Yeah. The Second Amendment rights, that group has been like, no, fuck you guys. Like, and so now it's like they're saying the Joker movie does not shoot people. It doesn't cause people to shoot people. Right. And you're now trying to tie this into gun control. Fuck you guys. And I'm like, I'm with them, but for different reasons, because I'm for the Joker movie. It's because of, and someone on Discord earlier pointed out that it's because the left is brainwashing the media. And I'm like, well, all sides try to brainwash the media, right? Of course. They all try to, but the left is right now affecting my DC films the most. And I lean left. So I'm like, what the fuck, guys?
Here's what they should be doing is they should take this movie and watch it and say, this is a great example of what happens when we don't have available mental health care for people.
Sure.
What can we do to fix that? That's what they need to be doing.
And that's what they've been saying, that how come, like, the real issue here, if you really cared, would be to go after mental care issues or mental health care. And that's actually a big message in the Joker film as well. So hopefully that comes out of this movie. I don't think it will. I don't think they're going to care once it's out, but we'll see. Warner Brothers responded with the following press release.
Quote, gun violence in our society is a critical issue, and we extend our deepest sympathy to all victims and families impacted by these tragedies. Our company has a long history of donating to victims of violence, including Aurora, and in recent weeks, our parent company joined other business leaders to call on policymakers to enact bipartisan legislation to address this epidemic. At the same time, Warner Brothers believes that one of the functions of storytelling is to provoke difficult conversations around complex issues. End quote.
Is that a proper PR statement?
It was great. It was on point. It was pretty much, listen, assholes, we donated money and we're doing shit.
We've been doing stuff. Knock it off. Like, if you guys have been paying attention, what you're asking for, you have already.
Hashtag TCO.
The Joker movie, as we've said every week, opens on October 4th.
Moving on over into the video game side of things, as we mentioned in the very beginning, video game developer Warner Bros. Montreal, who did Arkham Origins, added hidden image to their post, which revealed 4 symbols. This released on Batman Day, and we've all been busy trying to decipher these symbols, thinking we're the Dark Knight, the greatest detective ever.
So we figured out some of them, right? The fan base has kind of contributed. These are still, for the most part, original images by WB Montreal. It's not the classic Court of Owls symbol, but one of them they figured out is the Court of Owls. One of the developers from Warner Brothers Montreal recently tweeted out an image of her wearing a Court of Owls symbol shirt. So it's like, all right, well, they're clearly working on a Batman game, and one of the factions or groups that are going to be going after Batman, whether or not they're fighting each other or working with one another, I think it's going to be the former, they will be going after Batman. One of the groups is Court of Owls. The other is, and you see the symbol, it looks like Satan's head on, it's the demon's head. So that's
demon's head?
The League of Assassins.
One of them we still have no clue on, but it is speculated that the other one is the Order of Saint Dumas. So whatever, Azrael man. I don't know. That guy.
Sounds right.
Sure.
I think they hinted at all of these in the Arkham Origins game. About a week or two ago, Scott shared from Lazy Gaming Guys, he shared on our Discord images of the canceled Arkham game, which I believe was from WB Montreal. And they had said that initially they were working on a unannounced Suicide Squad video game, which now gives us closure. When about 5 years ago, Jeff Johns talked about let it slip on we're working on a Suicide Squad game and blah, blah, blah. And that's when we're like, okay, so there's going to be a Suicide Squad game after Arkham Knight. and it turns out there was going to. That got canceled. Instead, there was going to be a new Arkham game with you playing as Damian Wayne.
Cool.
And there were images of an older Damian, and you were, a Batman Damian, just like in, I guess, Batman 666, but it was quite different from it. It definitely fit in the Arkham universe more than the comics. That also got canceled, and we saw a couple of different character designs for that, but now we're getting something even different, more different. So I'm sure a lot of those assets are still going to be used in this particular game, but hopefully soon we'll get an official maybe teaser trailer or a title as to what this new game is going to be. I wouldn't be shocked if it took place right after Arkham Origins, especially since they were hinting at the Court of Owls then. So it'll probably be a pre-Arkham Asylum game. I honestly don't think that Kevin Conroy is going to be involved.
No.
Because much like in Arkham Origins, they had a different actor. But on Twitter, people have been asking him, hey, when is the next Arkham game? And he said, ask Warner Brothers. So he's waiting as well.
That's because he spoiled it the last time. And so somebody out there like, you can't say anything, Kevin.
I think by him advocating for them to really rally and tell them, that's probably him saying, yeah, I'm not really where I would have told you guys by now.
I would have let it slip.
Either way, it's exciting. I'm happy to see that they are working another Batman game. I've once again reached that point in life where I don't play video games. So when they eventually release it, I'll probably watch a bunch of Let's Plays when I can and see others play it. But it's exciting that they are adding to the Arkham mythos.
So Funko has unveiled some pretty cool new things for New York Comic Con, which is coming up in a few weeks later this year. But they've announced some new Funko Pops, including Merciless Batman from Dark Knight's Metal as a Hot Topic exclusive.
That's the one in which Batman defeats Ares, wears the helmet, becomes corrupted, and ends up killing Wonder Woman, including he also kills Ares. But for those of you going to New York Comic Con, I know a couple of Brokeheads are going. There's going to be some exclusives there at the show, but the ones that you can get at your local comic book shop are going to be the also announced in the same press release, Red Sun Batman.
Cool.
Hell fucking yeah.
With his little raccoon hat?
Yes. Not the... I guess that's a name for it. The first appearance Batmite as well, which is really neat. Maleficent from the upcoming Disney movie was a part of it. Spyro the Dragon. So this is going to be the second Spyro figure that's open for everyone to order. And finally, Waving Pikachu.
Cool.
No longer a Target exclusive. There's had his arms down or whatever, which you do have. But a Waving Pikachu, which I think is even better. And that will be available at your local comic book shop to order. So make sure to head there and place your pre-orders.
When are they going to have meme Pikachu?
What's meme Pikachu?
That Pikachu meme where he's always like, with the surprised open mouth.
Yeah, that'll be an exclusive too. I'm sure.
That would be amazing. That one would like sell off the shelf.
Are you a little surprised that they haven't gone a little bit more or quicker at growing the Pokemon lineup where they've stuck to the 3 and now we have 2 Pikachu?
I'm just amazed that they're as successful as they are. Because I'm flipping through the previews and there's like hockey players that they have and all these crazy things. I don't know who had the great idea that like, oh, if we paint plastic to look like different characters, we'll make a shit ton of money. But obviously they have.
Well, it goes back to the Mighty Mugs. You remember those where they were like Funko Pops before the Funkos, in which they actually had accessories. Like there was a Captain America one.
Wow.
You can find Mighty Mugs pretty cheap now on eBay, but those were the ones before Funko. They unfortunately went out of business like a year or two before Funko came along with their line of superheroes, and that shit took off. So they were just a little bit too early, or they weren't as quick to getting these licenses as Funko was, but I don't know, maybe they wouldn't have worked out quite as well. Obviously, Funko and their design with the big eyes really resonated with buyers. And now they've kind of moved away from that a little bit, where you're seeing a little bit more accurate character figurines or figures of these actors even and comic book people like Red Sun Batman. But good on them, and I'm glad that we are getting Red Sun Batman. I still think, as we've said before, they're obviously the Beanie Babies of today. This is not something that you should invest in to sell in 50 years. that's not the case, especially since these things you can fucking open up and put them back in their case and they'll be fine. There's no sealing. There's no seal on them.
Right.
What's to keep them from being open? And sure, as long as you keep the box, they'll be just as sellable the next day. But I'm really happy that they are making these available because we do collect Funko Pops. Not obviously for the sellability of it, but they make shit that we love, like Red Sun Batman.
Continuing on with some comic book news, Joker Harley Criminal Insanity #2 has been delayed a month and is now solicited under a different artist.
So this is yet another DC Black Label book that has come across some delays, but it looks like they're taking the approach of the regular DC Rebirth line, and if you can't cut it, well, we're getting a different artist and someone else. Mike Mayhew is going to be taking over for Andrea Sorrentino.
This will be a 9-issue series that will kick off with the first issue on October 9th, and then obviously the second one will be delayed by a month.
We will be reviewing Joker Harley Criminal Insanity #1. It is an off-continuity, just like most DC Black Label titles have been, on the relationship between the Joker and Harley.
I'm so pumped. I'm ready.
Some more comic book news here. Batman's new ongoing creative team after Tom King leaves with issue number 85. It got leaked early, but they've officially confirmed it. It is going to consist of James Tynion IV, who previously did DC Rebirth Detective Comics, with art by Tony Daniel, who worked on Deathstroke, Danny Miki, and Tomeo Mori.
We have a quote here from Tynion who says, quote, "I loved writing stories for Batman Eternal, Detective Comics, and even Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But my desire to tell a Batman story, one focusing solely on Bruce Wayne instead of an ensemble, is what drove me back to the Batcave. I want to dig deep into the Bat himself and tell an epic story that pushes him to his absolute limits." End quote.
James Tynion he's a solid writer. Not one that I've read stories of and gone, yes, that shit has been epic. I need to own the trade as well. I love Batman TMNT. That's been really, really good. But it hasn't been like world changing if you kind of catch what I'm saying here. But he has mainly done, at least what we've read, team books. Batman Eternal, Detective Comics even was really just Batman Eternal too. Obviously, with Batman TMNT, it's a lot of characters handled at once. So for him to really boil things down into its essence of this is Bruce Wayne, this is Batman, I want to see that story. And obviously, we're Batman fans. We're going to give him at least 3 issues just to see if this is for us. And if his track record shows, like Detective Comics, like Batman Eternal, we stuck around for a lot of Batman Eternal, but it was a weekly, so we did drop off and we picked up the Dustin Wynn issues. But we read all of Detective Comics. We've been reading all of Batman TMNT, so most likely we'll give Batman its full run.
You can catch the first issue of his run with Batman number 86 releasing January 8th, 2020.
Good variety of news this week. Don't forget we have our previews, highlights, our comic books, and question of the week. But first, our thank yous to those who make the show possible, our Patreon shout-outs of the week.
We have 3 shout-outs this week. The first one goes out to Christian on Instagram. You can find him at @A_man_defeated.
Christian shared a tracking shot of the first ever Oscar award-winning film, Wings, which came out in 1927.
How cool.
The film was thought to be lost to time. No one had a copy, but it was unearthed in, I believe, an archive in France from what I was reading from the Post. And because of that, we were able to get this tracking shot and this copy of this movie that hopefully is now super backed up in all places throughout the world of the first Oscar award-winning film. So make sure to follow Christian at @A_man_defeated.
Our next shout out goes out to Eric, whose Twitter handle is @EAntonOfficial.
He retweeted a video from Spain in which a group of cyclists rescued an adult deer from drowning. Do good in the world, everyone.
I love watching people save animals.
Me too.
It makes me so happy.
I did like that the deer was going towards them, and then they, grabbed onto his antlers and pulled him up. And then as soon as he got out, he fucking kicked and ran the fuck off. He's like, fuck you guys, thanks. I still don't trust you.
Fuck you, I'm not your deer. Those like dog videos though, they kill me. Like I just want to be a dog foster mom because I watch these poor little mange dogs and then you nurse them back to health and then they're the cutest little babies.
I've seen that with pigs where they're at farms and like they're malnourished and then they save them and they're like this. And then they get like real giant fat and like healthy.
And you're like, oh, too much.
Last shout out this week goes out to Renee on Twitter at Yugi's Pokemon.
Renee posted screenshots from a ROM hack called Pokemon Rocket Edition.
What'd you think? This is kind of the game you've always wanted.
This is a game I've always wanted. I've always wanted to be a Team Rocket member and run around. I wouldn't actually steal people's Pokemons.
I think that's a part of the ROM hack. Instead of like you can catch Pokemon, like you know how when you try to throw a Pokemon, they're in a battle and they block it. I think you can actually catch Pokemon in that ROM.
How do I play this? How do I play this game?
On your MacBook or PC. They're available. It's out there. It's free.
I'm ready. Somebody got to show me how.
Do you still at least get somewhat your fix of that with Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, in which you can dress up as a Rocket member?
Yes. I'm going to wear that costume for forever. They still have to give me more clothes, and I'm going to be like, nah, I'm going to wear this Rocket costume.
That's going to be the best when you become the champion, and they're like, well, we got to take your picture. Yep, I'm not changing. So that's kind of a criminal organization, though. That's fine.
Whatever. They gave me these clothes. You going to buy me new clothes? Well, yeah, we'll buy. No, don't want them. And my Pikachu's got his little rocket hat and his $10,000 sunglasses that I bought him.
Badass.
Best $10,000 I spent in that game.
So thank you so much, Christian, Eric, and Renee for backing us on Patreon, helping out the show. All of the earnings go right back into the podcast. Huge thanks. If you too would like your shout out on the show, head on over to patreon.com/thereasonsimbroke. There's also a link in the description for just $1 a month. You can get your shout out.
But of course, guys, our podcast will always be free. The best thing you can do is let your friends know about us. That's how we get more people onto the show. And if you actually want to be heard on the show, you can leave us a voicemail through speakpipe.com/thereasonsimbroke. We also have a link in the description. And you can leave up to 90 seconds telling us how cool I am.
Or you can submit a question as well. You can either do tweet, but you can be heard on the show, and I always appreciate that and love hearing different voices from speakpipe.com/thereasonsimbroke. You can do it with your phone. Very simple to do.
But that does wrap up our Patreon shoutouts for the week. Next up, we have our comic book highlight and finally our previews review. And we end with the Brocat Block, what happened with us this week.
Our comic book highlight this week is Harleen, number 1 of 3. It is the latest from DC Black Label. Writing, art, cover, colors, all by Stjepan Sajic.
This man did so much work.
Always does tons of work. Typically falls behind, but I'm hoping that all 3 issues are done. so we'll see.
Hopefully. What did you think? I want to hear your thoughts first.
So this looks to be a very deep retelling of the Mad Love-inspired origin of Harley Quinn. There are comic elements in there from both Joker and Harley Quinn. And there's also a lot of Batman 89 references.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed that. But obviously...
You're my number one guy.
Yeah, fucking Bob was in there. I'm like, hell yeah. And then they talk about the devil in the pale moonlight as well. So there's a lot of love in there for the different references in Batman's history. They talk about Harleen Frances Quinzel. That's in there too. But Stjepan kind of gives a little bit more insight into the character of Harley. I know there has been a little bit of controversy as to the name Harley, because as revealed in Batman Mad Love, this is the difference between the two, and I don't know if you prefer one or the other, but the way that Paul Dini and Bruce Timm wrote Harley is she essentially slept her way through college. So when she got an F, she slept with the professor, and then she got an A+. In this one, she is actually intelligent. She's at the top of her class. She understands the product, but she falls in love, or she has puppy love for the professor. Whatever it is, she has an attraction to the professor, ends up sleeping with him, and then gains that reputation of, they call her Harley because she rides every professor's ridden her. And so there's been this thing on Twitter and online of, okay, so they've now turned the name Harley Quinn into her being a whore. So now it has nothing to do with her name. It's tied into into her being, someone who sleeps around. So that's where people got kind of upset, is some of these Harley fans went after Steppen for that.
But she was already initially somebody who sleeps around.
In Mad Love?
Yeah.
I agree.
So I like both, right? I really, really like Mad Love because I'm a huge fan of Harley. But reading this, I still felt like he had so much love for the character and wanted to make her somebody that we loved, that we felt for, that I don't know. I really liked that she was intelligent. I thought it was a great twist, and I don't see them using the name as Harley to say that, oh, she's been ridden. Like, that's just what bitchy females do, right? They just
yeah.
They find something to pick at you. So I don't think he's turning her name into that. He's saying, here's this rival, right? Here's this other woman who's doing this to her, and she's still holding her head up high, and she's still going through that because she knows that she's smart and she knows that she deserves this, and she's going to do what it takes to get to where she needs to go.
You, as a massive Harley fan, that does stray from the origin of Harley, in which they do. That's a pretty big character change of making her actually intelligent compared to what they did in Mad Love.
I think over the years, though, she has become more intelligent, right? So when in her very beginning, she was entirely dependent upon the Joker. You couldn't have Harley without the Joker. And she's evolved over the years, and she's now kind of her own woman, right? There's so many stories where she's off doing her own thing. She's off with a girlfriend. She doesn't need him. And we see glimpses of her intelligence and all those things.
But you and I have still said in the past that we prefer Harley next to the Joker. She's always still going to be his tool. As soon as he snaps his fingers, she's going to run right back to him.
Right. And I do like that dynamic, and I do like when we see that. But we have gotten very good stories when she's on her own, too. So I don't want to discredit that.
Very much like Harleen #1. And it is a very deep psychological dive into Harleen Quinzel, because you're seeing the struggles that you haven't quite seen her dive into madness, her struggles into, maybe I should just analyze the Joker. I'm having these nightmares. And it's not about love until probably issue 2 that we get there and she finally falls for the Joker, but it's all about fear. And she wants to overcome that fear. And that's the main drive to all of this. She feels she understands him. She feels that she has control of the situation. But as we all know, the Joker is an incredibly complex character that probably no one but Batman himself understands.
Well, I think it's also a continued look at mental illness, right? Because at one point she just says, well, I'll just take pills. I'll just take more pills and drink more coffee and I'll be fine and I can handle this, rather than really stop and say, what's causing these nightmares? How do I move on past that?
Yeah, and the artwork is amazing by Steppen. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. No exception to the rest of his works. If you follow his DeviantArt, he's had this cover done for years. Like a very pre-concept cover. So he's been
working on it for years.
It's possible. So that's probably now just finished. So they're like, all right, we can publish it. But I know that he also did a Poison Ivy one. That's like a mirror shot of this one. So I'm hoping that Poison Ivy comes next. And it'll depend on the success of Harley Quinn, I'm sure. And that's kind of interesting that we're now probably seeing that story fulfilled that he may or may not have been working on for many, many years. I think the part that resonated the most with me, obviously the road down to it, but at the very beginning of the comic, when you're seeing that victimhood with the Joker in the eyes of Harley Quinn, but it's also once again a step higher with the way he took it, is you still see Batman as like this monster character, right? And you see the Joker cowering under him. It's like, all right, that's how she sees the Joker, and it's like a jump into the past after that. But then her defending the Joker, not out of love, probably out of love, but she also says, this is my patient. I can do this.
Right.
It's my patient. I'm responsible. And that's when Batman, instead of being the monster that she sees him as in the animated series or even in Mad Love, he says, okay, but this is all on you now, Harleen. This is on your plate. And then he leaves. So it further kind of dives into or touches on the guilt of maybe I should just let Batman take him away. Maybe Batman is right and I've now done something terrible by assisting him.
I don't think that I really caught that much from it, but now that you say it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's so cool. I was kind of like watching a little boy color while I was reading this book too. But there's there's a lot to dissect. I would love to have the opportunity to read through it again, or maybe when all 3 come out, right? Read all of them back to back, because it's already turning into such a fantastic journey and a fantastic story. And I just feel, I'm very protective of Harley, but I just feel that he handled her so well and is giving her more depth and more insight and transforming the character even more, but not in a way that makes me uncomfortable. I do love the last line in the book too, where he's like, you can call me Jay, like Jay, his name. And she's like, okay, Mr. J. And I was like,
you're like, no. Have you seen the cover to the next one?
No.
It's hinted at in the final page, but it's him holding her from behind, and he's like, and she's kind of looking up at him very lovingly. So it's like he's starting to corrupt her, or she's starting to fall into his insane embrace.
It's interesting too, because all the dialogue boxes are, they have the Harley diamonds. So I almost wonder if this is her already in madness as Harley, having a moment of sanity, going back and retelling the story and understanding how far she came.
And looking at the variant cover, and I know the variant for number 2 is a more contemporary Harley Quinn, but the variant for number 1 is the animated series Jester outfit Harley Quinn, mixed with a little bit of his own touch, or personifying it himself and really making it his own. But I'm glad that up to this point, we've really just seen the Jester outfit on Harley Quinn. You see it in the shadow. You see it in some of these panels where they jump into the future, like with the Two-Face panel. You see the Jester outfit. So I'm glad that we're at least going to see that at some point in issues 2 or 3.
Right.
And we'll probably get the more modern outfit as well by the end of it.
Overall, if you're a Harley fan, I really recommend this book. It was gripped me in a way that a comic hasn't in a long time.
And some more comic talk coming your way, because it is the week that the previews catalog came out, and these are our highlights. For anyone confused, the previews catalog comes out once a month. It is available at your local comic book shop, but this is how we do our orders. This is how a lot of my subscribers also do their orders. It is a catalog that will have every comic book, Funko Pop, t-shirt, piece of merch, statue, toy that is coming out 2 to 3 months from now and beyond. So mainly I use it for the comic books. That's how I immediately subscribe to things at my own store, and also how I help talk to my customers about the latest comic books, how I make the graphics for the slideshow, all of that. So I really love the catalog, and a lot of our subscribers especially love it too, because they get to look at these comics ahead of time, just as we do.
I look at the toys.
Yeah, you mainly look at the merch. We call that the merch.
The toys.
So I, per usual, like every month, I mainly have comics on my end and variant covers. We do apologize. Last month, we did not do our previews highlight like we normally do, but we are on top of it this month. And the first one is, we did talk about it I'm trying to remember, a few months back, but they had hinted at this early on, and now it's officially solicited, so now you can actually add it to your subscription. It is the crossover between Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and TMNT, the longest comic book title out there. Like, Jesus fucking Christ. Well, this is on page 212 of your catalog, and the variants, there's going to be 4 for issue number 1. And if you've looked at the other ones by Mora, in which it is the Rangers holding their helmet, recently, before that, they were 1 in 25 variants or 1 in 10s, but this time they've made them open order, but now they're foil covers. Cool. Well, in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers TMNT variants, they are instead the Turtles holding the Red Ranger helmet. Yeah. And it shows 4 of them for each of the Turtles, and I don't think it's going to be foil covers, but they are still really neat. I'm a sucker. I'm going for all 4, and I'm going for the main cover.
So all 4 are holding the Red Ranger helmet?
Well, each cover is each of the Turtles holding the Red Ranger helmet. I would have liked it if they were holding different helmets colors, and they would have done 5 or something, and maybe like Splinter was the 5th one. Cool. I don't know. That would have been neat.
No, Splinter's got to hold that big head.
Alpha 5?
Yeah. No.
Oh, you're talking about Zordon.
Yeah.
That would have been great. That would have been awesome. So I added that to my subscription. The other one I'm going to touch on before we jump back to Palpa Kelly is Project Xmas. It is in the Image Comics section of the catalog on page 54. But this is I'm annoyed at this. They better make this returnable, because comic shops are going to have a fit. But Mark Miller said, here's a comic that's coming out, and we're calling it Project Xmas. We're not going to tell you what it is. We're not going to show you the cover. the picture on previews is a picture of a present, like a comic that's wrapped up in a bow. And they said it is a sequel to one of my books from the past. And I'm like, you fucking guys, like, again, make this fucking returnable.
Right.
It could be Reborn. It could be Magic Order. It could be a Prodigy. It could be several of the Image books that he's worked on in the past, or some of the ones that they now own as part of Miller World. I have no idea. He calls it Beloved. I don't think it's Reborn. I hope it is. I don't think it is. Greg Capullo would have shown pencil art for it. But I like Mark Miller, so I will sign up on it. I'm just annoyed, and I really do hope that they make it returnable.
First up on my list, so if you flip the book upside down, right, backwards, that's where all the merch is. So first up on my list, on page 20 on that side, they have, you probably have it on your list too, the Iron Giant with the Superman, big ol' S on him, ready to save the world. It's a little statue for $50.
Nice.
It's amazing.
I'm still debating on whether or not we can move it at the store. I don't think we can. It's a great piece. It's awesome, but just like last month, we didn't order the Rocketeer PVC statue because as much as we love it, I'm like, well, I'm going to sell it to maybe that one person in 2 years. So I don't know. I think the Iron Giant's going to be the same.
Iron Giant is, so many people love him, and he's wearing that as Superman. You cry.
I'll consult with the other workers.
Consult. You're not getting it.
What else is on your list?
On page 19, we also have some Teen Titans Go statues, which were really cool. They're in like cool action poses, and they have everyone but Raven, but she's coming soon.
That's weird. Yeah.
It shows like her little grumpy face, and it's like coming soon.
All right. On my list, I've got Harley Quinn, Villain of the Year, #1, and this is on page 2 of the DC catalog. The reason I wrote this down, I haven't gotten any of the Year of the Villains ones yet. I did pre-order the Joker one. That one I think is coming out in a week or two. But the Harley Quinn one is written by Mark Russell, who did Snagglepuss Chronicles. He did the Flintstones, Hanna-Barbera recent one. He's an amazing writer, and I believe he's doing Wonder Twins right now. So we are definitely going to get this. I don't think I've read a Harley Quinn Mark Russell comic before, so I'll definitely be subbing onto that one shot. And then also we have another one shot. It is New Year's Evil. It is also from DC Comics on page 9.
Is it a sequel to some kind of book too?
So this one is part of their holiday one-shots that they do. They're usually $9.99. They've done one for Valentine's Day. They did one for Halloween. They did like a winter special last year with the Swamp Thing story. You remember that one?
Yeah, that was great.
So this year they're doing a New Year's special. And if it's anything like the other ones, I will probably enjoy it. It's going to be a series of different stories that are themed to New Year's. I can't wait. The cover shows Joker in a Santa hat. So let's have it.
Perfect. Next on my list, also on page 20, we have John Wick and his dog.
Is that an action figure or PVC?
Yeah, it's an action figure. And I mean, he's got other things too, like a gun and some stuff. But I was flipping through, I'm like, oh, John Wick and his dog. Perfect.
So that's a resolicit because it came out today at the time we're recording this.
That's so cool.
And I know the owner was like, we ordered this back in September of last year. And I'm like, yeah, it's still sellable. We'll move it. Like, we have 2 of them. So we got that. What else do you have?
We also have some cool Mario dioramas. I don't know if you saw those. They retail for $20.99, but you gotta so they have 2 different ones. They have a lava dungeon and they have underwater. And it comes, so like the underwater one comes with the weird squid guy, a fish, some seaweed, and Mario looking like he's swimming. And it looks like you open up the box and you can place everything on the background. So then you got this cool little diorama of Mario doing these different things. It was cool.
I've debated getting those for the store, but I'm really afraid that they're already at Target or something. So I don't know. I have people asking me for Mario stuff, but not all that often.
Right.
So if anything, I'd get maybe one of the dioramas and see how they did. But I'm really nervous on ordering those. But they are really neat. They're really cool. Another one on my list is The Infected Gordon, which is on page 8 of the DC catalog. This is a part of that Batman Who Laughs storyline, part of the Year of the Villains as well. But this is kind of like a Elseworld story, but it is still in continuity because they're going to be in that dark multiverse of what if Gordon let go of his moral compass and ended up doing corrupt shit. And that is that story. And I don't think we've gotten that before.
No, that's awesome.
So I'm interested in reading that. And also there's the latest facsimile edition from DC Comics. For anyone confused, a facsimile is an exact reprinting of a classic issue. And this includes those old ads that were around back then. And in this case, it is Crisis number 8, The Death of Barry Allen.
No.
Definitely have to check that out or reread it. It is going to be on page 11 of the DC catalog.
Next on my list on page 70, we have the Batman and the Hall of Justice pop vinyl.
Wow, that is so cool. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It's so cool. It's only $30, so I feel like that's a great price point. But you got the little front of the Hall of Justice, like from, what was that show even called?
Super Friends?
Super Friends. Yeah, there you go. It's that and the little Batman's there in honor of Batman Day, of course.
If it's anything like the Scooby-Doo Haunted Mansion diorama, then they're going to do a great job with it.
Also on page 71, we have another pop, which is Daniel Craig as James Bond. And
Hell
I thought
yeah.
you would like to know about your boyfriend.
It's not my boyfriend, it's my man crush.
Okay.
There's a difference. Man crushes are never your boyfriends or girlfriends.
Okay.
On my list, I also have Batman Tales, Once Upon a Crime. Do you have that on your list?
No.
It is by Dustin Nguyen.
I don't flip through the comic books. I let you make those decisions for me.
Written by Derek Friedolfs, and it is a
Dustin
DC
Nguyen.
Inc. Hard. I think it's going to be a soft cover, but it is a bunch of stories. It is done in that Lil Gotham style.
Little Gotham by Dustin Nguyen.
Fucking wait. It is on our list. It is on page 14 of the DC catalog. Also, on page 105, it is the 100th Batman black and white statue they've produced.
Yeah.
It is going to be limited. It is the Batman by Todd McFarlane, as done by one of his covers in, I believe it was also Batman. It might be Detective Comics, but that's the infamous 3-arm Batman cover.
Yes.
But this time they are translating that into Batman black and white. It is $100.
With just 2 arms.
Hopefully. Yeah, it is 2 arms. I know it is $20 more than the regulars. The Batman black and whites are $80. This one's going to be $100. So I don't know if it's going to be larger. It's possible that they do make them a little bit bigger because it is the 100th statue, but I know if anyone else has collected these up until this point, they might get annoyed by that fact because it's like, this fucking thing doesn't line up with the others.
Right.
So that might be a thing, but you could also argue that it's for the scale of McFarlane's type of scaling already when he draws a lot of these characters. When you look at that woman in his arms, in that cover, like, he's massive. So maybe I can argue that that's what it is. But really the answer is it's a 100th statue. They want to charge more for it, so why not?
100 for the 100th. On page 72, we got some really cool figures. They're called Egg Attack figures. Never seen them before, but they're pretty much characters looking adorable. And we have a Batman and a Joker, both from the animated series. And really, really cute. They're like all round and pudgy. And those are retailing for $80. They also have a Miles Morales that's $94. There were some really cool Miles Morales statues in this previews catalog.
Miles, what's going on, Danger? How you doing, Danger?
What?
My part-timers talk about how great the soundtrack is in Spider-Verse, and I love Spider-Verse, but now I purposely sing the songs wrong.
Oh, okay.
Instead of What's Up, Danger, I'll just fuck it all up to the point where now even Sean is
What is new?
Greetings, Peril, like he's played into it, so...
Oh, man. We also had a statue that made me pretty uncomfortable on page 76. It is a sexy Ikemen Joker.
Ikemen, like the
dating apps.
So Ikemen must be a term then.
I think so, or it's a brand, or it's something. I don't know. I'm sorry.
I know what you're talking about. I saw that statue.
Somebody can correct me. It retails for $109.99, but he looks like the sleazy guy in the anime that you don't want to get with. But he's got his little cane, and he's just ready to seduce some women.
What's the difference between that and the way that Steppen drew Joker? Because he was intentionally trying to draw him as somewhat attractive in that comic.
But he wasn't, his hair didn't look greasy in the comic.
Gotcha.
It looks greasy. The way they designed it looks, and it reminds me so much. Oh, you know who it reminds me of? Remember Legend of Korra? There was that guy that they used to fight, and he was real gross and weird.
In Legend of Korra.
The very first season. I'm going to have to go back and show you. But he reminds me of that guy who just always looked greasy and gross.
Gotcha.
But not in like a handsome Snape greasy way.
And there's a big difference. There's a fine line there.
There is.
Fine line.
It's a very fine line.
Let me ask you, can I sell that Joker?
Probably.
Will weebs buy it?
Oh, yeah. Probably.
Really? I don't think so.
Sexy Joker, somebody's going to buy it. Especially after this Joker movie, somebody's going to buy it. We also have page 100 where there's a cute Godzilla and a cute Monster Zero statue. Just looking adorable with their eyes.
The last two items on my previews highlight are a statue by by Marini, based on Harley Quinn. Marini recently came out with a 2-part hardcover Batman series, and he had that original design of Harley Quinn. It was probably in your portion of the catalog too, because they put it twice in it. And that's the one where she kind of has like the cones on her head, and it's done in like a muted color style where instead of like a dark blue, it's like a baby blue, and her skin is kind of almost yellow grayish, very off saturated look to it, and it looked amazing. It's $155. It's on page 106. I was very tempted, but I also passed on the Adam Hughes Harley Quinn statue, which if anything, I would have gotten that and this one. But my space is so limited that I just had to pass on both of these. But they are gorgeous, gorgeous statues, especially if you're a Harley Quinn fan. And my final one is actually a Vampirella book. It's on the cover of the whole previews catalog. It's done by Stanley Lau, art germ himself. But Vampirella number 6, it's on page 178. It's an acetate cover. Cover A is by default, just like DC did. DC, once again, influencing all these other publishers. It's an acetate cover. For anyone confused, the way it's going to be is it's going to have, I don't know if you guys remember the binders that you had or notebooks where it had like that clear covering to it, which would protect the paper. Well, imagine that thinner so you can see through it better, but patterns on it. So you know how you had the 5-star on it and the notebook? So this is going to have a blood pattern on it. And when you open it up, it's going to have the Stanley Lau Vampirella artwork on it on regular comic paper. But if you put the acetate on there, then she becomes the bloody version of that. The way DC is doing it is they're doing a before and after. So you see Darkseid, and then you turn it and you see Darkseid and the Justice League dead at his feet. So that's kind of how they're doing it when those come out, I believe, next month. But I have to pre-order that. I think it's going to do really well. I'll probably order high up on that Vampirella cover. Even though it's Vampirella, they're trying their fucking hardest. They're getting this A talent like Artgerm to do covers for them. Like, hats off to them, man. I would love for more people to buy these, but I don't know if this will work. And if it does work, great. But I hope they stick around for issue 7. That's my only thing. It better be a jumping on point.
Is that it for your list?
That's it for my list.
Didn't even go through the toys. Only a few
I didn't even go
toys.
through the Marvel. Well, I did go through the Marvel section just to point out like a couple of things to make graphics out of. Like I made slides for the store, and it was Doctor Strange. It was Spider-Ham. For DC, I did the Suicide Squad, which has a lesser known team on it. And then on the image side of the 20XX or 20XX, I don't know how they're going to pronounce it. There's also a new Black Label book called Wonder Woman Dead Earth. So if you're collecting all of Black Label, this is a Wonder Woman that wakes up in the future. The Earth is dead as they describe it. So she's trying to figure out what happened. She's in a bad place. And it's also the DC Comics debut of this particular writer who worked on Murder Falcon.
The last few things that I have on my list, on page 108, you have regular and angry Iron Giant. So we got Superman earlier, but then you have like Smiling Iron Giant and Battle Mode Iron Giant.
Are these also statues?
Yeah,
Okay.
These are also statues. They're a little more expensive. So regular goes for $120 and angry Battle Mode goes for $110.
I'll definitely not order those.
Definitely not. Also on page 116, we have, so you know those cable covers, right? You see them all over the place now.
Yes.
You put them to keep your cables from fraying. They have Joker and Harley ones.
I missed those.
They're so cute. They're only $6.
Nice.
But absolutely adorable. We could get matching ones.
What version of Harley and Joker are they?
It's, I don't know, animated series. It's like
Okay, so it's the
Yesteryear's
Jester-
Harley.
yeah, nice.
Yeah. So really, really cute. They also, for you Disney heads out there, have a teapot that's the genie's lamp. So it looks like full replica of the genie's lamp. However, you cannot put it in the microwave or on the stove.
Lame.
So you got to heat up your tea in another teapot and then dump it into this teapot.
You got to use friction to warm up your tea.
So that is going for $58.99. And finally, on page 118, I'm probably the only person who's interested in this, who listens to this show, but they have a Harry Potter crochet set.
That might be movable. I have a lot of Universal Studios employees at my store.
Maybe they do. I don't know. So it's making amigurumi, which is crocheting figures, right? So when you see the little crochet Pokemon, the technical term for that is amigurumi.
That sounds like a Japanese dating app.
Probably. Joker's probably on there. And the KFC Colonel. Anyway, this goes for $24.99, and they teach you how to make Dumbledore and Dobby and Harry, and there's a few others, but it looks, and they didn't say that it was what it was, but it looks like the crochet hook that's included is a wand.
That's cool.
Which is almost worth the $24.99. I'm sure it's uncomfortable AF to use, because I can't imagine that lumpy thing is comfortable when you're crocheting. But if they did that, like, props to them. It's
probably good to use for 5 minutes at a time.
Not even. Have you ever crocheted? Clearly not.
So I overshot that one.
Yeah.
There you go. Those are our previews highlights. Again, if you're confused, this previews catalog is available at your store for $3.99. $4. It is a Christmas catalog of comics. Christmas catalog of comics.
Christmas
you can use that previews.
Comics.
Let's head into our Brocat blog, which is Batman Day, a question from Bobby, and where Papa Kelli and I have been.
So, of course, we just passed Batman Day 2019. It snuck up on me. I woke up the next day and just saw, hope everybody had a great Batman Day. And I was like, I guess I did. But what special things did you do for Batman Day?
So throughout the world, you got to see the bat signal lit up on landmarks throughout the nation. So in Mexico City, they had it on one of their largest buildings in the city. And then they had it on monuments and shit, like all
That's
throughout
awesome.
the world. So it was really cool. It was a coordinated event. And then obviously WB Montreal used that to their advantage to announce something new. And that's also where people figured out that you actually cannot light up the bat signal against clouds. So it has to be against a solid object. It won't actually show up in the sky.
It took us this many years to discover that you couldn't light it up against clouds. Clearly, they're not in Gotham City. You don't know Gotham City clouds. There's a lot of pollution there.
That's true. You're right. But I'm sure the blimps also add to the atmosphere, physics, and particles and whatnot.
Yeah.
So make it more bat signal friendly, which is really Gotham calling for Batman in a poetic way.
Right.
But when you saw these bat signals lit up around the world, it was trending. It was on Instagram. It was all over Twitter. It was all over Facebook. It was awesome. The greatest comic book character of all time. And you have a whole day celebrating it. I had a customer that came in and I was like, hey, today's Batman Day. We've got some free comics and we've got this sale on everything Batman that you can find in the store. And she goes, when is Iron Man Day? And I'm like, when he hits his 80 years. And it's like, what's funny is 20 years ago, Iron Man was a C-level fucking character. It wasn't until the movie that became A-list. But if you really remember, even during Civil War, he was a C-level character. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. The movie did really elevate that character a lot, as it did with the MCU did with a lot of these characters. But with Batman Day, it was awesome. At the comic book shop, we had a reprinting of Batman Who Laughs #1, as well as a novel comic book first chapter of this full book that they had. It's called Batman Nightwalker. And that one we ran out of quickly, but it was also, we ordered like very few copies. But we mainly ordered Batman Who Laughs, so that was a popular one. I gave all of those out by the end of Sunday. Batman Day was on Saturday. And I'm just really good at bag stuffing and telling people like, hey, my retail game is on point. I'm sorry. It is. It's bragging, but it is on point. After over a decade of retail, I can say that. So I gave all of those away and they were happy and everyone was happy. The one thing that I did kind of falter at, and I think we all did as comic stores, is we didn't really build this up as quickly or as much as we could have. I had a couple of my subs that came in Batman gear and they were looking around like, oh, like maybe they were expecting it to be like free comic book day. So that's when I was like, fuck, man, I missed the mark on that end. But I took cues from that, and now I've really made it a goal to build up Halloween Comic Fest, which is coming out next month. It's going to be at your local comic book shop on October 26th. Double check that they're participating in it because not everyone does. The comic books are not free for the comic book shop, so much like Free Comic Book Day, we do pay for those books. So double check with your shop first. But I'm building that up. We're going to have Sonic the Hedgehog that we're going to give away. There's going to be DC Marvel books, something from Image Comics. And while it's not as big as Free Comic Book Day, it's the second largest Free Comic Book Day event that at least I've seen from the 7 years that I've worked for a comic book store. So I flyered up the store. There's Halloween Comic Fest stuff everywhere. I'll probably try to come up with some kind of raffle or Halloween contest. I'm not sure. The thing with Halloween costume contests is we decide what it is, and that always becomes a point of contention with parents or people that entered and all this other stuff. So maybe I'd just do a raffle instead.
You should have the contest, and I'll bring Leo, and Leo can win. It won't be biased at all.
Not at all.
Won't be biased.
Hello there, Leo. what is your name,
young
little boy?
Child.
And you,
Dad.
I am not your father, although I would be very happy to be.
Except he looks like you just copied and pasted you.
That's true.
No, nobody will believe.
Is that your son? No, I traveled through time and copied myself into the present, so now there's two of me in this timeline.
Okay.
It's like, damn, he's really trying not to tell us that's his kid. That was my Batman day, though. I don't want to ramble too much. We do have a question, though, before we go into our actual weeks. From Bobby on Twitter @Cuban Slim. He asked, quote, "Do you feel that it's troublesome that comic book retailers can only use Diamond/Alliance as their source for books? Would there be any advantage/disadvantage to utilizing more than one distributor if possible?" End quote.
This is all you. I mean, yes, Bobby, I do. I don't know. I have no say.
Do you have multiple distributors at your coffee shop?
I do not. So we have a giant warehouse where we get the things that are delivered more frequently. And then once a week, we have an order that comes out of another state. So we all use the same ordering system, and really everything comes from them.
Gotcha. With his question, Diamond is the distributor that all comic shops use to get their comic books. And it is a monopoly, to be honest with you. In the 90s, I believe there were 2 or 3 different other retailers aside from Diamond. And now it is just Diamond distributors. So all comic shops only get their stuff from them. That being said, our store has accounts with Funko and Alliance, which is actually a game company. So when he says books, he's also referring to Dungeons and Dragons books. And that's separate from Diamond because we get a better rate when we go through Alliance or PhD, which is another gaming distributor. And that's one advantage I think it's, to answer his question, there are advantages to having multiple distributors, just like capitalism, just like regular businesses, where if a consumer has the option, and yes, even though the comic shop is a business, we are still a customer account, if you will, because we're purchasing orders from these distributors. And if we have multiple distributors, we can choose to get Funko Pops straight from Funko instead of from Diamond, where the rate is not as good. So we'll get a little bit of a deeper discount through Funko. And that does make a difference when you're ordering hundreds of Funko Pops every month. So that's one thing that, I absolutely do think there are massive advantages to having these different distributors. And I feel that if we did have a different comic distributor, that it would be more competitive in pricing. And I think that comic shops would benefit very heavily from that. However, because we do have different publishers, that already kind of corrects itself a little bit. Marvel is still that off factor because they refuse to do returnability. They refuse to do heavy discounts. They instead end up just overshipping us on books that we know we cannot sell. So that's unfortunately the reality of it right now. But DC Comics, IDW, Boom Studios, all the independent publishers are still about returnability, about getting the better prices on covers like Image Comics. They still keep a lot of their comics at $2.99, which is great. So there's a lot of good to be had with different distributors. And there's our struggles that we will still go through. But I am lucky in that we do have these different accounts with more than just Diamond and Alliance.
I agree.
Sorry, Here's something to all you, though. You have something on Twitter. You hit a milestone.
I did. I have like 102 followers now.
Hell yeah, you broke that 100.
I did. You put out the call and the Brocat Core listened.
Damn fucking right. Little campaign. going on right there ahead of election year.
Yes.
So let that be known.
So I'm on my
really,
way.
it's like you won, really.
I'm an emperor, so like I'm always in office.
That's right.
Damn right.
What do you think? How's it feel to be at over 100?
It feels cool. I don't know. How often do I use Twitter? I'm at 101 followers.
If you were tweet like even once a week, I think you'd do a little bit better. Use some hashtags. Use more hashtags.
I do use hashtags. I hashtag Maroon5 or I at Maroon5.
Yeah, you add yeah.
I hashtagged memories and I at Maroon5.
Add them and hashtag them.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll just like hashtag Maroon5. That'll be all I tweet every single day. See, the thing is, if I tweeted more, I'm so funny. Like the world would they couldn't handle it.
This is why I want Riggs also. Like you and Riggs both won't tweet often on Twitter. And I'm like, God damn it.
No, I don't know. Like the Twitter still confuses me. I know that you love it and you know how to navigate it, but the Twitter confuses me.
It's the best of social media, honestly. And
That's
I know
fine.
Because Facebook and Instagram are now one, and they fuck around a lot with their algorithms. Twitter, I love that they still give you the option of you can have their style of algorithms where you'll see the personalized tweets, or you can do a straight timeline. And I'm like, fuck yeah, give us fucking options, man. I love Twitter, and I love that you can mute people, you can block them, you can create your lists, so you can, even if you don't like that huge timeline, make a list, add the people on there that you want to see their tweets for sure. Access that fucking list. It's amazing. All the tools on Twitter are great. You can personalize. That's what it's the MySpace of today's social media.
No.
Hell yeah, it is.
Nothing's better than MySpace.
I'm not saying it's better than MySpace. I'm not saying it is MySpace. I'm saying it is the MySpace.
Can you put a song with glittery
today.
roses in the background?
You can definitely link a song and play it on the timeline.
With glittery roses
With
in the
glittery
background?
roses.
Listen, nothing beats MySpace with their glittery roses and your messages that would pop up. Like, remember it was on the bulletins. That's what it was from all your friends. And it's like, repost in 5 minutes or you're going to die. What happened to those days? They were so pure. And then you had like your 7 best friends and it was always Tom from
Wasn't
MySpace.
it top 8?
Whatever.
And I get mad at people for not having you in the top?
Yeah, I think I only had like 7 friends. And then all my friends, we had to put Jesus as number 1.
Otherwise, you get judged.
Yeah.
Not only by Christ himself, but also by your friends. So there you go. That's pretty much the Brocat block. Nothing huge for me aside from what we already covered where I bought my Joker tickets. I talked about Batman Day. Anything else you want to cover before we sign off on this pre-podcast awards show? We're going to know by next week if we won under Games and Hobbies. But if not, we got nominated for the 3rd year in a row, 2017, 2018, 2019 Podcast Awards nominated The Reasons I'm Broke. We work hard to bring you this show every week ever since 2012. So we've gone over 7 years of The Reasons I'm Broke podcast.
That's crazy.
And you guys are the fuel. You are the fuel that keeps us going every single week. So huge thanks for subscribing to the show, for interacting with us, for being there for Palpa Kelly and I. And also now Leo and AC, as some of you have known that have followed us since 2012. You've seen this growth of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast family, not only between Palpa Kelly and I, but also with all of you. We've seen a lot of you become parents, become grandparents, and it's an amazing thing to see and stay connected with you. So huge thanks for listening and for being there.
So as always, thank you so much for tuning into our show, for giving us feedback, for reaching out to us on the new MySpace, that is Twitter. But of course, you can find us on Twitter at Reasons I'm Broke, at Palpa Kelly. We always look forward to GIFs and comments and just hearing from you guys in general.
For a link of everywhere you can find us, if you're on Facebook, if you're on Instagram, if you prefer those on Tumblr, Vero, head on over to thereasonsimbroke.com. You will find the link to everywhere you can find us. Thank you so much once again. I am Border Daniel.
And I am Emperor Palpa Kelly.
And Broke at Core.
All will be well.